And a lot of them are going to be subject to, because those are the easiest ones to get, because they're people in existing loans that, like you said, they're upside down because they've come down on price. And now after they pay about 10% in closing fees, commissions, they don't have enough to pay off the loan. So they're kind of stuck.
Like if you can look at a deal through all these different lenses, you can offer more and a creative deal that's going to go to an investor than this seller would even make listing this property on the MLS.
Guys, welcome back here to video 7. Man, it's been a fun day.
Yeah.
We've recorded so much videos here. Hope you guys are enjoying the series. I'm here with Tony Mont, my good friend, expert on all things exit strategy. He runs a multi-million-dollar wholesale outfit and flipping company and is one of the best at not just doing the business, but teaching the business. So we brought him in. We're here at my hotel in the event center, and we've been breaking down these strategies. And like I said, this is the 7th video in the series. If you missed any of the videos prior to this one, go back and watch them, because we definitely have done this in a progressive order. So it'll all make more sense if you follow the sequence that we created this content. There's a playlist in the description where you can go check that out, and we'll, again, put these in order. And on this video is going to be a real light bulb moment. If you're coming off of the last one. So the last video we talked about how a buy and hold investor would look at a deal using a BRRRR method, right? Which is how they're going to buy it and then renovate it, rent it, refinance it, and then repeat the process. So now what we're going to do is we're going to basically show how a buy and hold investor would look at a creative finance deal and why an investor would pay so much more money for a creative deal if the terms are attractive. Right. And we're going to use an example showing like typical terms that most creative deals should be trying to get into so that you can see the difference. And this is really, when we penciled this out or when we whiteboarded this out, Tony and I were both like, yeah, this is why investors pay so much more for creative finance deals. It sort of makes sense when you look at it. Yeah, and it's funny, we came up with a deal structure from the beginning of today when we were going to talk about the fix and flip exit strategy and then the buy and hold. And it's kind of a made up deal, but it makes sense. And it's a typical deal. This isn't a far-fetched deal by any means. This is typically what you're going to see out there. Realistic numbers. And it's funny, as we're writing the numbers out, on the last one, on this one, we're getting all excited about it, even though it's a fake deal that we just created out of thin air. Where's the contract, Tony? But we're getting excited about it because we love to teach this, because nobody's really breaking this down the way we're doing. And hopefully it shows the audience that, these aren't far-fetched, and you can do this too once you understand the exit strategy. And like we said in the previous video, somebody's going to hold the debt on this deal, right? And in the DSCR loan from the BRRRR method on the last video, it's the bank that's holding the debt. And there's going to be interest rates and down payments when it comes to that. And then on this method, which is going to be a creative deal, sub-2 seller finance, or a hybrid of the two, it's really the same thing, but now the existing mortgage is holding the debt, or the seller is holding the debt, or a combination of both. And you have a little bit more freedom with, these types of deals because you're structuring the deal. And as we know, a few years ago when interest rates were really low, it's hard for those sellers to now sell that property because the market has shifted a little bit. They don't have a ton of equity in it. So it's really hard to sell a property somebody bought a couple of years ago with a low interest rate, simply because property values have come down just a little bit, and now they're breaking even or losing money most of the time on a property that they're trying to sell right now. Yeah, and so guys, when you think about creative, there's lots of creative strategies, but the main 3 are subject to, which, like Tony just said, that's where you're going to take over an existing loan. So that's a loan already in place, right? And you're just taking over that loan. You're not assuming it, you're taking over responsibility for it. That would be a subject to. Seller finance would be if they own it free and clear, you create a new loan where the seller now acts as the bank. So the DSCR, we're getting external money, a bank to come in and finance the deal. Whereas this, we're going to use the seller is going to act as the bank and finance it for you. So then you're going to create an interest rate and an amortization. And that's now a new loan that you created without a bank, without qualifying, just with the seller financing it for you. And then a hybrid is when we combine the two. So let's say that there's an existing loan in place but there's a lot of equity. So you'll take over the existing loan subject to, and then you'll create a second position loan on some of that equity. And that's in a second position seller finance. So it's just a combination of the two. Between those three methods with creative finance, that's probably 90 to 95% of all creative deals.
Right.
And a lot of them are going to be subject to, because those are the easiest ones to get, because they're people in existing loans that, like you said, they're upside down because they've come down on price. And now after they pay about 10% in closing fees, commissions, they don't have enough to pay off the loan. So they're kind of stuck, right? That's the perfect subject to loan.
Yeah.
So we're actually going to use an example. It could be any of the three, but we'll use subject to as kind of maybe the example here.
Yeah.
But the same numbers could apply with a seller finance or a hybrid.
Yeah. And there's, just like we talk about, strictly wholesale deals, fix and flip formulas and buy and hold formulas, there's going to be a small percentage of people that accept our offers on these deals. As we know, we make all these phone calls, and it's not like we get every single deal under contract. So there's a small percentage of people that'll accept our wholesale offer. There's a small percent that'll accept a buy and hold offer. There's a small percent that's going to accept a sub to seller finance or hybrid offer. So I think some people hear these terms of subject to or novations or these flashy terms, and they're like, well, this is the end all be all to everything I've ever needed to know in wholesaling, because I'm having such a hard time getting a wholesale deal under contract because I have to get it so discounted. This allows you to bring your offers up and still make a really juicy assignment fee. But again, it's not going to work on every single seller. So just keep that in mind as you go through this. But the more tools you have in your tool belt, definitely the more deals you're going to get. Because if 1 out of 50 takes your offer on a wholesale offer, and then 1 out of 50 takes it on a buy and hold type offer, and then 1 out of 50 takes it on a creative offer, and then again on novations, now all of a sudden you're getting 5 or 6 contracts per 50 leads if you know these strategies and can adjust your offers accordingly.
Totally, yeah. So it makes a lot of sense now when you start to see, hey, I've got all these options. I can take this specific deal with this specific seller with their situation, and now I've got options here. And maybe they say no to this one, maybe they say yes to this one. But since I know all these different exit strategies, now I can offer so many different options. So
it's finally all coming together for us here. And in this example, it was a subject to that we're taking over. And that subject to mortgage was at $185,000, which is exactly what we had on the DSCR loan for our BRRRR method. But this is a property that somebody had a couple of years ago at a 3% interest rate. So your principal and interest, your principal and interest payment on that is $780 a month. And that's the loan that you're taking over. Now on the tax and interest, just like our last deal on the BRRRR method, it's the same deal. It's gonna be $250 with your tax and insurance combined. So your PITI on this is $1,030 a month. Now, we know our rents are $2,100. We covered that in the last video. So the cash flow on this property is actually $1,070, right? Which is higher than we've had on the other because of that interest rate. Yeah. And we talk about, the interest rates were 3, now they're 7.5. Like that's the difference, right? Like once you really pencil out the numbers, you're like, wow, like no wonder the market shifted because the numbers are off, right? Yeah. So on this particular deal, like we said, we exited it at the 185. Now the current mortgage in place is 185. We can't lock it up for that because the mortgage is in place, right? So our exit strategy on this is 225. We can sell this to an investor for $225,000. It's a little bit more than market value, but we're going to show the value in the cash flow and how we structure this deal. So the subject to mortgage is $185,000. That means the total cash entry fee for our buyer is going to be $40,000. Now, if you remember on our DSCR loan, their down payment was 25% of that DSCR loan, which is $46,250. Now, not only is their cash out to enter into this deal lower, it's a lower percentage of the purchase price. Yep. So they win both ways. And out of that $40,000, we can make a $10,000 assignment fee, a $30,000 assignment fee, and then $10,000 to the seller. They had the mortgage at 185. They wanted to walk with 10,000. So we were able to offer 195 to the seller and exit at 225. That $40,000 spread, which our buyer brought to the table, we divvied up. We wanted to win in this fake situation. So we made 30 and the seller walked with 10, but that can be adjusted with your negotiations.
But this is very realistic.
Very realistic.
Like making 30K on this deal, if these are the numbers, is very realistic.
Very realistic. And so if we look at just our cash flow over the year, it's going to be $12,840 for our investor. And that's a 32% cash on cash return on that $40,000 they put down. We were all excited about the 20% cash on cash return on the down payment from the DSCR loan on our BRRRR method. But if we could structure these creative deals properly, and these numbers can work on any one of these, right? We're just using subject to, but now they're making 32% cash on cash. So you're going to ask yourself, why would an investor pay $225 for a property that's worth maybe 185 to 195? Well, they're making more cash on cash return on their money. They're entering into the deal for less down, less percentage. They're cash flowing way more, and they're taking over an existing mortgage. So they're not going to have to get a hard credit pull. They're not going to have to get qualified. None of that. They're taking over the mortgage.
They're not going to have to worry about refinancing later because they're locked in at a 3% rate.
Right. Yep. It's a good deal all around right from Jump Street. So as you guys need to identify these deals as you're on the phone with your sellers too. It's all public record. Like you can go on, platforms, public platforms and see what the existing mortgage is, kind of an estimate of the rate, which is usually pretty spot on. I've noticed it's not far off. And you know what your rents are, you know what your taxes are, you can guess what the insurance is. It's pretty standard. So this is something you need to look at on deals where people have low interest rates on these mortgages and have the motivation to get out of it with a little bit of cash down.
You know what's crazy about this, Tony, is we did a side-by-side comparison. And this is crazy if you think about the comparison between the DSCR, which is at a 7.5 interest, not a 3. We're only able to offer 145 because we have to exit to them at 175. Because remember, if you remember the last video, they're going to put 10 into it. They're all in at 185. And then they're going to put that $46,000 down, which means they have a loan for that 138 number. And we're going to make a $30,000 assignment, same as up here, right? But the cash flow is better up here at 1070 versus, was it 780 on the monthly? The cash on cash, like you just said, is 32 instead of 20. But look at this. This is crazy. We're able to go in at 195 versus 145. That's $50,000 more on a creative deal than on a DSCR deal.
Yeah.
And so then check this out. These are our guys, if you've been following the videos, if you look at this, our fix and flip, if you remember, the range was 107 to 127. That's where we had to be to the seller on the same deal. The buy and hold 1% was 135 to 155. So look, we can pay quite a bit more if they're going to do like a BRRRR method. And then on this creative deal, we could be anywhere from 185 to 205.
Yeah. So we would there's almost $100,000 difference, $98,000 difference in our lowest cash offer on a fix and flip formula and our highest offer on a creative. Where even if we were at this 205 on this offer, we're still making 20 grand on the deal, right? So if you don't understand an exit strategy, how many deals are you missing out on when you're just sticking to this formula that somebody told you 5 years ago and you wonder why you can't lock up enough deals? It's because at the very best, you were at 127 on an offer to this seller. And if all these exit strategies worked, you could have actually offered them 205 and still made 20 grand on this. And
here's what's crazy. If you think about this sub 2 example, so remember, they owe 185. So let's say that they owe 185 and you come in here and you offer any of these, 107 to 127, what are they going to say? No, I can't. I have a mortgage.
Yep.
Okay, well, let's offer 135 to 155. No, I can't. I have an existing loan of 185. you just eliminate, if you don't know how to structure creative, you just eliminated all your opportunity.
Yeah, you can't lock up the deal. You can't move the deal because you don't understand
They can't
the
cash
strategy.
it out. They cannot pay off that 185 loan if you're offering them 107 to 155. So these don't even work anymore. They're not even an option for that seller.
Nope. So here's the thing with sales too, and I say it all the time. You're a problem solver in sales. This person obviously needs to get rid of this property, right? And if they were to try and put it on the market traditionally with a realtor and pay all those fees and try and find an end buyer, they're probably going to lose money on the deal. We come in here as wholesalers, we know a lot more about finance, creative finance, sub-to, a ton of different exit strategies to get rid of the deal because we're not realtors just one-track minded saying, hey, this is going to go to an end buyer. Like if you can look at a deal through all these different lenses, you can offer more in a creative deal that's going to go to an investor than this seller would even make listing this property on the MLS probably, right?
Yeah, because think about it. We're taking over that 185 and we're giving them $10,000. So for them to get $10,000, if they were to just sell this outright, after they pay closing fees, commissions, and all of that, this is going to be up there pretty high. I mean, we could do the math, but they're not going to get it, which is why they can't sell it. It's sitting maybe on the market or no one's interested in the deal.
Right.
Because somebody doesn't know how to put it together subject to.
Right. And when we saw this deal in the beginning with the fix and flip, I mean, our ARV was 250. So even if this thing was immaculate and they sold it for 250 or 240, these numbers are still better because of all the stuff that has to come out of it. Or if they have to rehab it to get it at 250 and then sell it, it doesn't make any sense. So when you understand creative, you understand buy and hold with the 1% rule and the Burr method, and you understand your fix and flip formula, you can make a lot of money on these. And like we said in the original video, when we started getting into exit strategies, say we get it for 107,000. Great. Now we can, do anything we want on the exit and make as high of an assignment fee as we want. So always give the low offers and anchor them. If that works, great. Now on the back end, you're going to do all this work with the buy and hold and the fix and flip and any other method to see how do I exit this at the highest assignment fee. But they say no to these offers. You need to start looking at these exit strategies to see how high can I get my offer so I don't lose this deal. Because if you get off the phone with this seller and you did not make a deal and they did not like your offer, I'm going to give them a call the next day and go over these other strategies, and I could still get the deal and I could still make a huge assignment fee on it.
I'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this video today, right here where I'm recording at the Looking Glass Hotel and Event Center. Located in the heart of San Juan, Puerto Rico, just 10 minutes from the airport and walking distance to the best restaurants, shopping, and beaches, this newly renovated hotel is the perfect spot for meetups, events, retreats, and podcasting. So if you want to create an unforgettable experience, come to the Looking Glass Hotel and Event Center. Click the link below this video in the description for more details. Yeah, and guys, we have more strategies because they may say no to creative. A lot of sellers are going to be like, you know what? I don't feel comfortable with you taking over my loan. I don't feel comfortable doing creative finance. I want all my money now. So you're going to have a lot of sellers that just say, no, creative doesn't work for me. Okay, when that happens, okay, now you're going to the next exit strategy. And the more of them you know, the more of them you have for options. So we're actually going to go over even more. We've covered so far fix and flip. We've covered buy and hold, where with buy and hold, we talked about 1%, we talked about Burr, we talked about creative. These are all different ways to look at buy and hold. Now we're going to go into like a novation, which is taking the deal to the MLS.
Yep.
We could do an assignment on the MLS. We're going to do a takedown or a wholesale, where now you're buying it, reselling it to a retail buyer on the MLS. And we've got like a whole nother slew of strategies that maybe they don't keep going up in price necessarily, but they're just different options, better options. And we're always trying to marry between what's a great opportunity for the market on the exit and what's the seller situation. And if I can align the seller situation with a good exit, then you're getting the seller the highest price for them, so they're winning, and you're getting the best price for you with the exit in mind so that you make money too.
Yeah.
And it's really just the smartest way to do this business. I try to tell people, Tony, and we'll wrap up on this video here. I try to tell people, don't identify as a wholesaler or a flipper or a buy and holder or whatever. Identify as a transaction engineer. Like I want to be like a deal maker. I like to call I'm like a deal maker. I'm not anything. I'm just a deal maker. What's the best use of this deal given where I'm at in my life and my business, right? And find the right exit strategy that's right for the seller. And that's how I want to look at every single deal.
Yeah. I solve complicated real estate transactions is what I tell people what I do for a living. And you can only do that when you have the end buyer in mind. And is that going to be a flipper? Is it going to be a buy and hold investor? Or is it going to be a retail buyer, which we're going to go over on the next videos? And then how do we exit on our end to a retail buyer that's going to end up purchasing this property to then live in, or have a family member live in? It's going to be that's where the buck stops, is at this next buyer. And there's a whole other slew of strategies with that and how we can lock those up and still make them work.
This gets fun because now we're going to be moving away from the flippers and the buy and holders, and we're going to be talking about how to go straight to homeowners. And things get fun there because it just opens up now more opportunities.
Yeah, the biggest buyer pool is in your retail buyers. And it's not to say that there's not issues that come up with those strategies as well. Now you're dealing with a lot of agents and MLS and other things. So, financing, and inspection periods and stuff like that, and appraisals. But we're going to go over all that. If none of these work, maybe you can sell it to an end buyer, retail buyer, and we're going to show you how those exit strategies work.
And if you guys have been following some of the content I've been doing lately, I've been talking a lot about this takedown method, which is where you're literally just buying it, taking title, trashing it out, maybe cleaning it, relisting it on the MLS, no repairs, right?
Yeah.
So it's not quite a wholesale and it's not quite a fix and flip. It's sort of a quasi. But this is a powerful strategy right now too, because some of these properties are pretty clean and you put them back on the MLS and the retail market's going to eat it alive, especially in a low inventory market.
Yeah, especially at a good price point too. You can still sell these deals because you're direct to seller and you're still getting them at a discount. You can sell these at a slight discount on the MLS to make sure it's the next one that sells in that neighborhood. And you hold the keys to the castle when you're direct to seller on these deals.
Totally, guys. So we're really excited about following videos here, guys. Hope you got a lot out of this. Hope you guys got excited about so far all these different exit strategies. More than anything, I hope it's clicking. Even if this feels like, hey, I'm not really comfortable with all these numbers, but hopefully it's expanding your horizon and the way that you're looking at things to where you're not so boxed into just like one formula, one method, and that's it. Because again, like we've been saying over and over again, the more you're able to understand these multiple exit strategies, the more you can structure your offers to pay more and still get a great deal done.
Yeah.
So guys, appreciate you so much. Leave a comment and let us know if you have any questions so far, anything you're stuck on. Tony and I will try to answer those questions. Be sure to also click some links in the description where you can learn more about Tony, follow him on socials, and check out his training. He's got some awesome training on how to do all of this at the next level. And he'll even help you with his community where he'll get on calls to show you how to do it. You can model him. And it's really awesome. So check that out as well. And we'll see you guys on the next video.